Really, I think, moved by her story. I'm excited to introduce you to Judy Richichi. That's spontaneity, and that's what we're doing, so that's awesome. I brought some artwork up here, and I tried to sneak it up during the break, because I'm going to try to break some stereotypes tonight with what I'm going to share. I don't think you'd look at this artwork and assume that it was done by somebody experiencing homelessness. And I don't think you'd take a look at me and assume that I experienced homelessness. Yet I did. I grew up in a family of 8 children. When I was 8 years old, my parents separated. My mom was left with 8 kids under the age of 18. And unbeknownst to us, she suffered with a disease called schizophrenia. So when my dad left, she snapped. Over the next 5 years, our family went through HE double hockey sticks. It was a very difficult life. We were in and out of foster care. We wound up on the street. Many times she would try to get us back, but there was no electricity, no running water, no food. By the time we ended up on the street, I was 12. And I can tell you that I probably experienced absolutely everything that our folks go through every day at Siloam Mission. From physical, mental, sexual abuse to plain bullying, to being the outcast on the street where people look at you and they walk around you and they really don't want to come near you because you don't smell well. And so I get it. And so to make a long story short, Siloam Mission was the last place I wanted to work. But I had a pact with God, and one day I was looking for a job, and I was this close to taking the best job I thought of my life, that I could take care of my kids, and I could work from home, and it was that nice worldly job that I was looking for, because I wanted that corner office with a view or somewhere away from what I had gone through, because once you go through homelessness, you never really want to go back. And then Siloam Mission came up, and I looked at the ad in the paper, and I went, nope, not going for it. Sorry, God, somebody's going to have to phone me. My headhunter's going to have to phone me. Sure enough, he phoned. And yeah, he's like, Judy, I know you're going to take this other job, but this one I found in the paper, it's probably perfect for you. And there was silence, and I said, it's Siloam Mission. He said, how did you know? And I said, well, I told God to phone. He did. So I went for the interview, and you know, I was talking it over with my sister, and I was not convinced it was the job for me. I went to the second interview, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not sure. And then I was getting ready to leave the interview and go down the stairs, and I had a panic attack, and my heart just started racing. And I thought, oh my gosh, what if I run into one of those people? What am I going to do? I was terrified. I was terrified. Sure enough, I looked down the stairwell, and right at the bottom of the stairs, right outside the front door, was a gentleman, and he was standing there. And I thought, what am I going to do now? Because I can't walk around him without doing something. So then I thought, well, I'm going to do what I would do if it was one of you. So I walked out the door, and my biggest, cheeriest Judy smile. I looked at him, and I went, good morning, sir. How are you today? Now his eyes were completely downcast. They were right down to his feet. And he slowly brought them up. He reached. He needed a change of clothes. He needed a bath. He needed help. And his eyes slowly connected with mine, and the biggest toothless smile came across his face. It was like winning the lottery. And he said, I'm great now. Thank you. Whoa. Talk about being humbled. I was like, wow. If all we have to do is acknowledge somebody's existence and say hello, imagine what can happen if we actually do something about it. And then I started thinking of my own past and all the things I had gone through, and the heroes in my life that made that impact. And I thought of the everyday heroes. They're not the heroes we typically think of that we see on TV. And my first hero was my mother, my schizophrenic mother. What could she possibly contribute? Well, I came upon her when I was 8 years old, and she was crying uncontrollably one day. And I was only 8, and I was, you're always fearful when your mother's crying. And I said, Mom, what's the matter? And she looked at me and she said, don't worry, honey. And you could see this bravery in her eyes. She goes, everything's going to be okay. God has a special plan for each one of you children. Everything is going to be just fine. And it was shortly after that we went into our first foster home. But those words stuck with me. God had a plan. God was going to get us through. I knew everything was going to be okay. And I believed her. And those are words of encouragement and words of hope, and they're so important. The next person was my teenage brother. What use are teenagers? He was 13 years old, and he took me upon his knee, and this was the day I was going into my foster home. And we were 8 kids, so this was really traumatic. And he took me on his knee and he goes, "Judy, don't worry. I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to make sure we get back together, and we're going to be a family again." Now, it didn't matter if he could. It didn't matter if he was responsible for us coming back together. It was the heart and the compassion and the willingness to want to try and making me feel loved at a time when I knew my world was about to fall apart. And then the next heroes in my life were the Catholic godparents I grew up with. When I was 5 years old, we were moving from Ohio to Florida, and they came to me, and I was only 5. But I remember these words, because words are so important, words of encouragement, words of hope. And they said, "You're not going to understand this, but this is a rosary that was blessed by the Pope. And if you ever get into trouble, if you ever are afraid, if there's ever a time you're in doubt, you can just pray to this rosary and God's going to take care of you." Well, I went into that foster home, and for the next year I clung to that rosary. It was my lifeline. And I kept thinking of all the things people said, and it was my lifeline, and I was thinking, I know God's going to get me through this. And so then the next people are anonymous. I don't know who they are, but it's probably many of you. People who brought us food hampers. People who brought us toys when we had no electricity and no running water, and we'd come home from school and there'd be the table laden with food, and it was like Christmas. And we were so grateful because we were so hungry, because our mom really couldn't take care of us. But nobody really knew that she suffered with the illness. It was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde going home, and so we just never knew what was going to happen. But when those food hampers came, we knew that someone cared. Someone was looking out for us. Someone was out there. And you know, as a kid, you just really hope somebody's paying attention. And people were. And then the next hero was my grade 6 math teacher. A teacher, ordinary everyday teacher. But he encouraged me that I was good in math. I was in grade 5 and everyone else was in grade 6 because he was the grade 6 teacher. But he used to put contests around his room. And he put up all these math contests, and you either run a gumdrop for the, you know, little stumpers, and then he always had a super stumper, and every 2 weeks you got a stuffed toy. He was cleaning out his daughter's closets because they were all dirty. He just wanted to get rid of all the toys. But every 2 weeks was a super stumper. He knew that we were going home to difficult times because he let me, just me in grade 5, try those contests. By the end of grade 6, I probably got every gumdrop he had to offer, and I had over 40 Kewpie dolls in my room. But I won them, and it encouraged me to go to school, it encouraged me to stay in the game, and it encouraged me that I was good in math. And you know, in grade 6, I missed 80 classes, 80 days of school, but I still managed straight A's because somebody was encouraging me to go to school. And then the next person in my life was my new stepmom. Now, we had become ward of the state of Florida, and they finally realized my mom was sick. And as we became wards of the state of Florida, I wrote a letter to my dad and my new stepmom, who happened to be Canadian. And they were newly married, and she was an exotic fire-eating dancer. Yeah. I mean, think of these people in my life, pretty impactful. And she had never had children, wasn't sure she wanted children, but when I put out the call, she came through. And she brought 4 troubled teenagers all the way from Florida to Winnipeg. And not only that, but she took us out to the lake, and she taught us how to be kids again. She taught us how to go fishing. She taught us how to have fun. She taught us how to bake cookies and bake bread and make pies in a wood-burning stove. And you know, funnily enough, in this cottage, we had no electricity and no running water, but we had a wood-burning stove, and we had somebody who knew how to cook, and it worked. And we had so much fun. And for 8 weeks, we were out there until my dad could find us a house, because they weren't the type of people to be stable in their lifestyles. They just did what they wanted to do. And now all of a sudden they had responsibility. But I am so grateful they took that responsibility. And then the next people in my life that made a huge impact was my husband, who's Italian. And his immigrant Italian parents who I went to their home, and first of all, I had to tell my husband my whole story, and if you ever seen the show You Got Baggage, I had some baggage, and it was kind of like, honey, there's a few things I should tell you before we even start dating, because, this is pretty serious stuff. But he accepted that baggage, and then he introduced me to his parents. And the first thing parents go is, so what do your mom and dad do? And I'm like, well, my real mom's a schizophrenic, my stepmom's a fiery dancer, and my dad's her manager. She didn't even blink. Most people joke when I went through that routine, because I had to be honest. She didn't even blink. She says, you got a little Italian in you? I said, yes, I do, on my grandma's side. She goes, I like you. You're a nice girl. She says, you cook and you clean. She says, welcome to the family. You take care of my Joey. I said, okay. And, unconditional love and acceptance at a time when the rest of the world would want to judge what I had just gone through. She just welcomed me with open arms and shared the love that she had in her heart. And that was so important at that time. And then my table is table 21. And it's all my girlfriends and my sister who taught me that even after going through so many homes and so many schools and never having friends, that eventually you can have a core group of girlfriends who will take care of you and who will be there for you through your children and probably through our grandchildren and probably through our great-grandchildren, because we get together regularly and we've known each other over 20 years, so I thank you. Pretty incredible. And then, of course, my homeless friend probably had the most impact in my life because of that gentleman. I took the job at Siloam. I've been there 8 years. It's the best job I've ever had in my life. And he made me realize that if we just take the time to set aside our barriers and let down our defenses and become vulnerable with each other, we can probably learn more from them and receive more from them than they can from us. And it made me realize that our religion doesn't define us, our age doesn't define us, our profession doesn't define us, our education doesn't define us, even our age doesn't define us. What defines us is our character. And do we do the right thing and say the right things at the right time to provide encouragement and hope and make an impact? And I believe with all my heart that when we go to heaven and we sit on our Father's knee, we're going to go, Father, Father, look what I did. I got this beautiful house. I traveled the world. I got this incredible job. I married this prominent, sexy man. And he's going to go, yeah, that's awesome. And I wanted you to have all that because I want you to feel blessed and I want you to enjoy that. But what really impressed me was when you did that. And he's going to take something small and insignificant, like the purchase of those boots that we did today. The word of encouragement to somebody who's going through a difficult time, maybe buying 50-50 for Rotary tonight because they're going to be helping youth programs. And maybe it's a small gift for a hamper for somebody who needs help. And he's going to say, that is what really impacted me. And then he's going to show us that person and that what happened to them. We're going to see their children, and we're going to see their children's children, and we're going to see a harvest as far as the eye can see. And he's going to say, when you did that, you changed generations of people's lives. And what you did for the least of these, you did for me. And I'm going to feel really good that everyone in this room I know has been participating, and you're heroes. You're heroes in people's lives, and you don't even realize it. And most of them will never come back and tell you. So on behalf of me and my family, because there's so many anonymous people that helped us, we don't know them, I'm just going to say thank you. Thank you for what you do every day to make a difference in people's lives. It's so important. Keep doing it. I want to thank Stephanie, who, this is an incredible event, and her role and her goal is to inspire people so that we can go out and help others to be inspired. And I think she does that every time she does an event like this. So thank you, and I have a birthday present for her. Come on. And it's a surprise. She didn't know. Oh, I have a.
Yes. But wait, there's more.
There's more layers. Now this was given to me by my kids, so I'm taking it back. We're recycling today, and so was the champagne bottle that goes with the gift that she's going to open. On your table, there's a sheet with some heart stickies, and there's all sorts of stickies, and there should be enough for everyone to grab one of those stickies. It said, "Surprise, please wait for instructions." I hope you did. Everyone take a sticky, and I want for Stephanie's birthday, open your present. I want everyone to write a word of encouragement to her and her husband, whatever you, careful, it's breakable. Just pull that. And we're going to fill her glass, and we're going to make it full of hope. Because in my life, I realized that when I was going through my most difficult times, I held on to those positive moments until the next one came along. Otherwise, I would drown in sorrow. So, we're going to fill this up with words of encouragement, words of hope, so that whenever you're having a bad day, you just have to pull it and go, it's okay. Congratulations and happy birthday. Fill the cup.
Holy crow! You know what? So take this information and go, who do you know that deserves one of these? Everybody deserves one of these. Did you talk about pictures?
Oh, these were done by the artist in our art room at Siloam. Siloam Mission guests did this. We have a whole art room full of very talented people.
I'm guessing you would welcome volunteers.
Volunteers, and if you want a tour, you know my name, Judy Richichi.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place. If you haven't been, you must go. Thank you.